Hello and welcome to CTRL+F, the NSI Cyber and Tech Centers podcast. This season, we're bringing you a series of sessions from one of the nation's leading cyber events, the National Cyber Innovation Forum. My name is Andrew McClure, the president of the National Cyber Innovation Forum. This episode, we dive into a conversation with the director of sales at Carahsoft, Alex Whitworth, the founder and CEO of Surefire Cyber, Billy Gouveia, the CEO of Elastic, Ash Kulkarni, and the CEO of Simbian, Ambuj Kumar. Stay tuned for a conversation about how industry leaders are driving technology and business model innovation for AI security, threat detection, incident response, and autonomous cyber operations to help organizations move faster, strengthen resilience, and stay ahead of evolving cyber threats.
What these leaders are seeing from the CEO perspective, where cyber innovation is actually happening, how organizations are adapting to AI-driven change, and what it takes to build companies and teams that can move at the pace of today's threat landscape. So we've got 30 minutes. We're going to keep this high energy, so let's get right into it. I'll start with an icebreaker. What's one cyber trend and market shift you believe the industry is underestimating? And then, is there something customers are realizing too late? What's changing faster than expected? Billy, maybe I'll start with you.
Great, thanks, Alex. So wonderful to be here with so many friends, new and old. As far as things that we're underestimating, I think there's three forces that are reshaping the terrain that we have to defend. First, the volume of data, the volume of agents, the volume of compute is expanding in a scale that's very difficult to keep up with. Second, our supply chains are ever increasingly complex, and so there's just so many more vectors of attack. And then third, the velocity of the cyber incidents that we respond to has accelerated to a tremendous degree. So we used to think about dwell time in terms of weeks and months. With some of our more active ransomware threat actor groups, like Akira, we're seeing average attack happen within 3 hours, down from 24 hours just a year ago. So the velocity of these incidents is really changing considerably.
Thank you. I thought you said there could be only one answer. He gave three. I'm just cutting it out because you took away pretty much all of the ones, the fun ones.
Apologize, Ash.
Well, that's a good segue. Ash, let's hear from you. You bring a different, sort of scale to the conversation at Elastic. What are you seeing?
In my mind, the velocity problem is the biggest problem that we're seeing. The fastest attack that we've seen fully executed was 29 seconds.
Yep.
When you're dealing with a 29-second attack, I don't know how you can truly rely on a human being to do all the work in terms of detection, investigation, follow-through to actually take some action. And that just begs for more automation. And on the automation side, the other thing is just the pace at which we are seeing development and deployment of agents for all kinds of purposes within organizations is just mind-boggling. And when that happens, you just lose track of how quickly bad decisions can get made in terms of permissions and so on, what you give these agents access to, and that's just making the problem that much bigger, that much faster. So that's the big one for us.
That makes a lot of sense. We're going to come back to that velocity question too. And Ambuj, how about you?
I think as industry, we are still underestimating what AI will do. Everybody is talking about AI, all these conferences, events, and lots of industry efforts going on. But by and large, I think we are still underappreciating how transformative AI would be. I think a year ago, people were excited when you could use AI to, for example, investigate a security threat. Now the bar has risen a little bit. Now people get excited when you can use AI agent to do a task. I think in a year or two, most of the offensive security, most of defensive security will primarily be done by AI. So in spite of all our efforts kind of getting into AI, we are still under-investing, underappreciating how transformative it would be.
So, and then one of the themes that I want this group to expand on is that, while technology is an important piece of the puzzle, some of the organizations that are moving the fastest, that set themselves apart, that are delivering innovation, are doing things uniquely internally. So Ash, from a CEO perspective, what is actually creating innovation inside a technology or a cyber company? What's separating organizations that adapt quickly from those that struggle to evolve? And how do you generally build innovative teams?
So within our company, the way we look at things is, we sell a technology platform, we sell a data platform, and it's used for various things. Cybersecurity is about a third of our business. But within our company, our CISO reports to our head of products and development. And the reason why we've set it up that way is because we want the product organization to truly care deeply about security. We don't want it to be a after the fact problem. We want it to be something that people think of right from the get-go. Now, what that has done, in a way, is it's created almost this schizophrenic setup within the product organization, where on one hand, they are incentivized to run really, really fast, innovate in every possible way, because we get used a lot for data, for AI. At the same time, there is a desire to go slow or want to go slow, because you want to be thoughtful, you want to be careful, you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way in terms of your security posture. But that's allowed the organization to try different ways to move fast while at the same time securing all the work that they're doing. So our teams were very early in figuring out, as we are using code generation tools, whether it's Cursor, whether it's Claude Code, whether it's Microsoft GitHub Copilot, no matter what tool you use, how do you inject observability and security best practices directly into that code generation path, so you make sure that whatever's coming out of the other end, we can secure it quickly, we can make sure that we are thinking about the identity, non-human identity aspect of things that can run on behalf of human beings, on behalf of other agents. So we created that organizational construct that allowed us to be secure by design. And I think that's a model that we're going to have to go towards as an industry, because trying to secure things after the fact, if they're being built at the velocity that they're being built at today with AI, it's just going to be impossible.
And that's really interesting. Maybe a quick follow-up for you. Was there sort of a realization or a moment that caused you to implement a shift like this within your organization? Or what sort of drove it?
To be honest, this model, where our CISO reporting to our head of products, has been in place for a while, because philosophically we always felt that it's important for the product organization to think security first. What really changed is, with AI, our philosophy has always been, look, when something is so new, so different, you don't want to slow people down, but you want to have enough telemetry, you want to have enough monitoring that you can understand what they're doing right and what they might be doing wrong, and catch that early, get that visibility, so you can start to teach them the right way to do it. If on the other hand you start by just putting roadblocks, then what is likely going to happen is your creativity is going to suffer. You're not going to take as much agency in trying new things, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing if you're trying to evolve technology as fast as you can. So that was the realization that in an age of AI, when things move so fast, you have to think differently. You have to nurture innovation, but make security or secure by design a part of that innovation construct.
Ambuj, I'll go to you next. You're not a first-time founder and CEO. You've done this before successfully. What's your perspective on building innovative teams?
I think with AI, what I'm seeing is that the companies or teams that are successful with AI deployments are where they are thinking from first principles. So what I mean by that is, for example, Simbian, we provide a SecOps platform. So you might have Elastic-SIEM or CrowdStrike or Microsoft Sentinel Defender, whatever. They detect threats in your environment. Now you use Simbian to investigate and respond to those threats. Sometimes people expect our product to behave exactly like how their human analyst would behave, right? So they will say that first you should take the IP address, figure out where it's coming from, whether this file is malicious or not. And that leads to problems because AI is not human, right? It is designed to, we design our AI to detect threats, respond to them, not necessarily behave exactly like how you behave. So AI has a lot different capabilities compared to humans. It can look at like million token contacts all at once. It can look at 100 different alerts from 20 different systems. It can run KQL query one place, SQL query another, make SQL queries here, enrichment there. So the success I have seen have happened where people are thinking from first principles that here was a task. Did AI complete that task successfully or not? Can it explain to me why it thinks this is malicious or this is not? So that has worked really well. If you try to fit too much into what you are doing or a replacement of yours, then you get to artificial constraints.
And maybe let's go to Bill next. How do you build innovative teams?
Yeah, great. I guess I'll make 2 points. One, our fundamental thesis is that we can apply technology in a different way to help victims of cybercrime. And so we began by mapping out our process from intake from a client in need all the way through invoice. And then our brilliant CTO went through that process every step and looked at where can we embed automation to accelerate an outcome? Where can we embed agents or build agents to help us do that? And then where should we have humans either in the loop or over the loop? And so on that last point around thinking about driving innovation by working with our team of humans, we've applied a grading scale. And so if your AI skill level is 0, you're not using it, we either need to coach you up or move you out. If you're at level 1, you're using AI to, do research or almost like a super Google or super intern or, as an aide to help prepare answers to the moderator's questions. And that's okay, but it's not sufficient. What we really want most of the team to be is at level 2 where they're building agents to execute the tasks. So if you're a recruiter, you're building agents to help with recruiting. If you're in finance collections, you're building agents for that. And you're changing your role from an executor of tasks to an overseer of agents. And then our level 3 is our tech team that's architecting all of this together so that we have from intake to invoice an accelerated process. And so that's how we're thinking about innovating both the overall delivery model, but also driving innovation in terms of how we think and how we operate as a team.
Very good. So we've now sort of talked about artificial intelligence, in many of our questions, right? No cyber conversation in 2026 happens without talking about AI. Ambuj, given that reality, that every cyber company is talking about AI, how do you mature the use of AI within your organization? There's a lot of teams that are still learning safe and effective ways to operationalize it. What's your advice?
So security is not a point in time. It's a trajectory, it's a journey, right? And this is why I emphasize self-improving aspect of security operations. So it doesn't really matter where you are. Many organizations, they have their data spread over multiple systems. They don't have ability to retrieve information from those systems in near real time, right? Maybe you don't have people who are adept at Microsoft ecosystem, right? Or they're not familiar with Elastic APIs, right? And if you try to recruit them, it would have taken you like 3 months, 6 months. With AI, you can go much faster. But on the other side of the spectrum, maybe you have organizations where you have well-built security operations team, you have L1, L2, L3 analysts, you are using external IR team when needed, everything is fine. And then your concern is not so much as monitoring threats that are originating, but responding faster so that your dwell time goes down. If some attacker is able to get in your infrastructure, you want to detect them faster than they can do damage, right? Or maybe you are even more mature, right? You have minimized that time and you are very confident in where you stand. But now you can use your skills to go proactive, do do some proactive security, right? So rather than waiting for your adversary to come and breach you, maybe you can do offensive pen testing and find vulnerabilities yourself so that you find the exploit, you patch them, fix them before somebody else can come and can attack you. So it doesn't really matter where you are, you can improve your system, and so that's what I emphasize, that get in the self-improvement loop where every day your security posture is 5% better than compared to yesterday.
So Ash, I'll go to you next. What's your advice for organizations maturing the use of AI inside of their organization?
So this might sound controversial because I know I'm talking to a whole group of security practitioners and experts, so just bear with me for a second on this. Our philosophy is that you have to accept that when something is moving as fast as AI development is moving today, there is going to be a natural instinct in all of our teams to want to try the latest and greatest. Like it's human nature, it's curiosity. Like they are going to hear from their colleagues, their friends, like, their kid who goes to college is going to come home and say, oh, I just tried this, Dad or Mom, do you use it at work? And they will have lots of reasons to go and play with every possible model out there, every possible tool out there. That's the reason why OpenClaw became so popular. So you have to acknowledge that. And in our company, what we have done is, if you accept that, then you want to have as much monitoring as possible, and you want to, as aggressively as possible, test all the new things that your employees, your team members want to play with, so you then can inform them, here are the things that you should not touch because they're dangerous, here are all the issues with them, and we will lock it down. Here are all the things that are perfectly fine, and we'll actually spend money and time to educate you on the most creative, most interesting ways to use these products. So as an example, we have certified just about every language model that's available out there. We use multiple code generation products within the company. We've used Windsurf, we've used GitHub Copilot, Cloud Code, we've used Cursor, like there's a whole bunch of stuff. Right now we're playing around with OpenAI Codex because we want to get that into our environment as well. And the whole idea there is give people the ability to use what they want to use, but make sure that you build safety into it. So as an organization, we invest in that training, we invest in that testing up front. What we don't do is to basically say, thou shalt not use anything other than these few things, because you are guaranteed to create incentives for them to try and use it, maybe on their personal computer or whatever, and it's just a matter of time before stuff leaks over. So that's our philosophy, that's how we approach it. And if we feel that, our belief is that if you teach them how to use it the right way, they will follow the right practices. And we monitor our networks like crazy. Like we have lots of instrumentation built in. We're constantly monitoring APIs that are used for calling out, to different models. And that we believe is a better, less intrusive way that allows for that innovation, that allows for that curiosity, while at the same time keeping the organization very secure.
If I might jump in, I agree completely, Ash. One of the trickier things for us has been in that sort of testing phase to really understand the failure modes. So just because an X-ray machine isn't plugged in doesn't mean the arm's not broken. We really want to understand, as we build agents, how do we know if they're pulling the right data? How do we know if the outcomes they're giving us are not within the tolerance that our experts can understand and explain? How do we use agents to do QA of the work of agents? And so when you think about, embracing this agentic-powered workflow, we have to use agents to help us do it in a safe and responsible yet innovative way.
All right, I'm going to go back to the speed and velocity point that you were making, Ash. Cyber attacks now can unfold in seconds, not hours or days. Billy, I'll go to you with this first. Given your focus on incident response, you're probably very aware of this. How does that velocity fundamentally change the way security platforms and security teams need to operate, in today's world?
Yeah, thanks. Most incident response plans are designed for an event operating at a scale that no longer exists. Right, so they presume that there are many hours to bring a team together and walk through a bunch of decisions. Yet as I've outlined and as my fellow panelists have underscored, that's not the attack typology of the moment, right? And so I think there needs to be a shift from thinking of incident response as being done by firefighters to thinking of it being done by fire extinguishers. And we're working, most of our work is through cyber insurance carriers. We're working closely with these carriers to innovate different approaches to provide services within minutes of them detecting the incident. And it also shifts the burden on the containment and threat eradication piece and shifts it a little bit away from the forensic investigation. The days of whole disk images and thorough investigations, they have their part around IP theft and things like that, but that's not the main threat that most of our clients are contending with.
Ambuj, maybe over to you next. Does human decision-making become the bottleneck?
Yeah, I mean, this is so interesting, right? With the AI getting on offense side, if you are not using AI on defense, you are host, right? On one side, it's full automation, takes like seconds or minutes to unfold. On the other hand, you are taking like 3 hours to figure out what's going on. But the flip side is also true. If we do use AI on defense, then I believe we can beat attackers 100 out of 100 times. Because you are inside the network, you have the best knowledge available. From outside, it looks like 100 logs, right? And you don't know which one is real, which ones are not. But from inside, you know exactly what data is important to you. You know exactly how your network is configured. You know what is in your DMZ, what is outside, what data is fake, what is real PII or PHI, who are your VIP users. You know what software you should be using, what software you should not be using. So if you use this internal context of your organization as your defense mechanism, that gives you undue advantage, right? Because you have access to same AI, maybe better AI than attackers, and you have some knowledge that nobody else has. So you can turn this around, and then in AI versus AI battle, we'll win 100 out of 100 times. So I'm really, really excited about it.
Ash, let's go to you next.
I agree with both Billy and Ambuj on everything that they've said in terms of context and data being like the real areas that you want to get right. It's within your control, so absolutely, I think it's very doable. Automation, again, super important. There's only one thing that I'd maybe add to what has already been said. If you think about all cyber issues, they stem from two categories of problems. One is a human error. Somebody got socially engineered and gave some password, leaked some password somewhere. So there's human error. And the second is software error. There are bugs or vulnerabilities in software that cause, that become exploitable. Now, this is a time when you know that the pace of attacks are growing and the velocity is becoming like it's increased by order of magnitude, several orders of magnitude. We have to try and plug as much as we can these two sources. Now, human errors are going to happen, unless, I don't know if we can re-engineer human beings, but we just have to accept that we are flawed, all flawed in some ways. We make mistakes from time to time. So that's going to happen. You've got to take that into account. But there's no reason why we can't be more aggressive as an industry to hold ourselves accountable and hold each other accountable to make sure that the software that we produce and ship and put into production isn't more secure. So that's an area where I am a big believer that we should be pushing ourselves and the entire industry to be much more aggressive. The whole mantra of like, hey, you can't understand what's inside my binary, like it's no longer true. I can take any binary and reverse engineer it and get like human readable code that allows me to then understand what that source code looks like, what it might be doing, what gaps it might have. Like LLMs have opened up a completely new threat vector when it comes to software. So that's another thing that we should be really pushing in this industry. From our perspective as a company, one of the philosophies we've had has been to always have our source code in the open And we feel that that's a good thing. It's counterintuitive, but if you think about it, developers are like artists. If they know that there are millions of people staring at their source code, they write better source code. They code better, because it's like, if my painting is seen by only me, I don't care. If my painting is seen by a million people, I'm going to really put some passion into it. It's the same thing with software. For the longest period of time, the software industry is hidden behind this idea of, hey, nobody can see my code, so I'm less vulnerable. It's the exact opposite. So as an industry, we should hold ourselves more accountable on this. I think we'll all be better off in this AI era.
All right, we've got just a couple minutes left. I'm gonna move to a topic, right, with the audience here, a lot of government leaders, national security stakeholders, investors, the broader ecosystem supporting public sector. So let's talk government for a second. What has changed from your perspective as CEOs the most about expectations coming from government and national security customers over the last couple of years? Maybe Ambuj will go with you first.
I think the biggest change we are seeing is that there is shift to outcome-based projects, and shift away from procedures or checklist, right? So that has also transformed itself into more reliance on AI and software and less on people, right? And which is frankly was much needed, and it's it plays to advantage of companies like ours, which build software that provides you certain functionality at fraction of cost with higher precision.
Ash, do you want to build on that?
Probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing is greater desire for industry-government partnership. And there seems to be this notion of how can we do things better together, whether it was the secure by design idea, there's so much that the government is doing, and I'm very excited about that. I think this is, cybersecurity is an area where it's a shared responsibility, it's a shared problem, we have to all be in it together. There has to be more information sharing, there has to be more collaboration. I think the more we can do that, the better off we're going to be, not just as government of nations that work with each other, but also industry and industry counterparts in other countries. So I think this is a big positive. I hope that it continues. It seems like it's continuing, but that's what excites me most.
And real briefly, I think cooperation with law enforcement, particularly around threat sharing and infrastructure takedowns, has never been better in my experience.
All right, we've got 1 minute left. Let's do one last question, sort of lightning round. Each have 20 seconds. If you were starting a cyber company from scratch today, what's one area that you would absolutely not build in? Ambuj first.
What I will not build in? I will not do SIM or data storage, not just because Ash is here, but I think it is very hard problem. It's a data scale problem, and you can build a very successful security operations or security product, assuming that somebody else has already organized your data.
Go ahead, Ash. Go ahead.
I think, Chris, we need to partner more with them. That's what I'm hearing. No, but look, I agree. It's a data problem. The thing that I wouldn't get into is static analysis. I think static analysis, like vulnerability management, etc., it is unbelievably what these models are able to do, LLMs are able to do in this area of static analysis is unmatched. I haven't seen anything like it in the past. And so if I were starting something new, that's not an area that I'd want to invest in.
Go ahead, Billy.
Running an incident response company has been the professional dream of a lifetime, but if I were to do this again, I would find a much easier business to work in. I haven't had a Friday afternoon happy hour in a decade, so thanks.
What are happy hours?
All right, great stuff. Well, that's all the time we have. Everybody, welcome, join me in giving some thanks to the group here. Thank you.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks to Hannah Haynes, Keelan Wolf, Claude Jennings, and the entire NSI CTC team in helping us produce today's episode. Be on the lookout every Monday and Wednesday for more sessions from the National Cyber Innovation Forum. If you like what you heard, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks again.